Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ultimate Channel CK with me, Dr. Lewis Muchile. Thank you so much for the support so far. If you've not subscribed, kindly subscribe to keep us going. So today I'm going to talk about ulcers and the difference between ulcers and GERD. GERD to mean Gastroesopharyngeal Reflux Disorder. So one, what is an ulcer? Now an ulcer is a wound. This is a schematic representation of the stomach, and I've put in red portions that have been meshed to create an ulcer. So an ulcer is a wound that forms in your gastric mucosa, on the wall of your stomach. And GERD is where your stomach pH is raised towards neutral, and therefore the stomach contents, because this sphincter, which is called the pyloric sphincter or the esophageal sphincter, loosens up, because once this concentration of this acid is altered, signals are sent to receptors on this sphincter to make it loose. Once it gets loose, contents of the stomach flow back into the esophagus, and you start feeling this itching or this pain. Some call it a heartburn. Now, that's what is called GERD. So now, stomach acid pH is supposed to be between 1 and 3. And this is a high concentration, because remember, when you eat food, it comes with bacteria and other components that are supposed to be cleared in the stomach. So that is the function of this acid. It's supposed to be strongly acidic. It can even melt a blade. So this acid has several functions. Function number 1 is to tighten this sphincter so that the contents of the stomach do not regurgitate back into the esophagus. That is 1. Number 2, it's also to kill the microorganisms or the bacteria and the viruses that come in when you eat something. And number 3, to keep the major microorganism in check, which is H. pylori. Now we'll put up another video, a follow-up video that talks about H. pylori related ulcers. So that is the function of that acid. And this acid, you produce 0.5 liters to 1.5 liters every single day. And this acid contains hydrochloric acid. Okay, this gastric juice contains hydrochloric acid, potassium chloride, and sodium chloride. So that tells you need potassium and you also need sodium for your digestion. Okay? Now, let's go straight into the causes of the acid or of the ulcer. What causes this erosion? Number 1, H. pylori. Now, H. pylori is a bacteria that resides in the stomach, but can become very harmful when you mess up the stomach pH through alcohol and foods. Once the stomach pH starts going into basic, then H. pylori comes out of hiding and becomes aggressive. Number 2, Nsaids, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. These are the aspirins, these are the brufens, these are the meloxicams. Those drugs used to kill pain. They irritate directly your stomach and they cause ulcers. Number 3, stress. Now, stress is a form of a sympathetic nervous system reaction. Remember, the stomach relies on the parasympathetic nervous system to digest food and do all this production of the acid and stuff. So once you're stressed, you turn into the sympathetic system, which is the fight and flight system. Now, once you do that, that means your stomach environment is already altered again. So the acid in the stomach will start corroding the stomach wall, and that will cause an ulcer. Idiopathic means no known cause, but I'll tell you the cause, because most of you tend to ignore. Just say, I don't know, I have ulcers, but I don't know the cause. But the cause is, it lies in alcohol. Excess intake of alcohol messes your stomach pH, exposes you to ulcers. Number 2, excess calcium. Those who take too much milk, thinking that is a regimen for treatment of ulcers, you're making it even worse. And the calcium supplements that you buy for your bones. Number 3, refined foods. We've been talking about carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates, and refined foods in the restaurants, seed oils. These foods are highly inflammatory, so they mess your gut. So there is this word idiopathic is, put it in quotes. So those are the idiopathics that I'll put at your attention. Now, we've talked about now the causes of ulcers. So now, how do you manage these ulcers? Treatment of ulcers starts with the keto diets. Keto diets are diets that are full or are abundant in fat, animal fat for that matter, and protein. Now, fat is a satiety food. So since fat is a satiety food, that means it will not make you feel hungry. You'll take a lot of time before you eat another meal. That means you'll be fasting. That is intermittent fasting. So you'll be concentrating your stomach acid. Once you concentrate this stomach acid, this won't start to heal, because acid heals inflammation. Number 2, IF, intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting means you at least have 8 hours between a meal. Okay? So most of us are on OMAD, 1 meal a day. So if you can do an OMAD, if you can't do it, 2 meals a day. That will concentrate your stomach acid. Number 3, cabbage juice. Cabbage has been proven to have components that are effective in management of ulcers. Remember, fermented cabbage is dangerous for people who have ulcers. So avoid fermented cabbage. Just blend your normal cabbage and then drink the juice, basically a glass in the morning. Then chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is the green coloring matter of the plants. Sorry for that. So any vegetable has components that have phytochemicals that are supposed to help you heal your ulcers. Then, lastly, vitamin E. The role of vitamin E. Vitamin E is an antioxidant. And remember, an ulcer is an oxidative stress to the cell. So meaning it has too much oxidants. So what do? Introduce an antioxidant, which is vitamin A. So components that have high vitamin E component are vegetables also. So eat them in plenty. Then, what is the relationship between milk and ulcers? Some of us take a glass of milk to heal our ulcers. Now remember, milk will only coat if you have a wound, which is the ulcer, not the GERD. So if you have the ulcer, milk will come and form a protective layer over the ulcer. After it forms a protective layer over the ulcer, now that means you will be relieved of symptoms for quite some time. But remember, milk is also full in protein. Now this protein will activate production of pepsin and HCl. That means after 30 minutes, the ulcer symptoms will get worse. So avoid milk in ulcers. Also, the difference between ulcers and GERD is when you take food in ulcers, the food coats the wound for some time. So you'll feel relief after food. But GERD, the food destroys or neutralizes the stomach pH. So that will mean the symptoms will get even worse. So yeah, that's the difference between GERD and ulcers. And we'll see you in the next video.